I knew we were in New York. I was walking on the street, and this guy slowed down. He had the green light, but he slowed down, and he yelled something to me outside this window. And right as soon as that happened, a cab rushed up on this side, sideswiped him, and kind of honked. Didn't hit him, but came close. And so this was the conversation. It went like this. And I think he must have been in Jersey the night before. He said. Remember the thing sideswipe, so he goes, "Hey Eddie, great show, fuck you!" And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking Cameron in the truck. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hello everyone, welcome to Live on Four Legs, the definitive live Pearl Jam podcast. Randy Sobel here, John Farrar over there.
Hello.
Hiya John, how are you today?
Hey, Randy, doing good. How are you? Excited to get into this show, man. I haven't done one of these MSG shows, so I'm excited to get into it.
We're back on the wagon with this. It's been a while. I think the last time we did this was the last appearance of Mr. Helbig.
Yeah. I might be channeling some Helbig in my commentary tonight. So we'll see how it goes. So
Stone played one verse wrong, and that ruined the song for you. Is that what you're trying to say?
Jeff missed a note, and it was awful.
Dude, the evolution just sounded okay. It just sounded okay. It wasn't amazing. You know, the stage shook, but we're doing MSG. We're finishing the MSG series for the rest of the year. So you can expect September being this MSG Night 1 2010, and then October we'll do Night 2 of that year. I know a lot of you are looking forward to that. So if you have any stories that you want to tell from that show, just hit us up at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll definitely get a story of yours on the air. And then the final 2 months in November and December, we'll do the 2016 MSG shows, which I was at both of them. I'm sure we'll have Buckley on for all three of those shows that I mentioned there, but the 2016 shows definitely have some Helbig type opinions for those ones.
And this is a show that you attended, so this will be cool for me too to get your perspective of being there when I wasn't there.
It was, yeah. This show was a little weird for me. This is, out of 20 shows, this one falls within like the 12 to 14 through 10. It depends on kind of the day. And it's not that it's a bad show per se. It's just that it's got a lot of dull spots that aren't really memorable. And although there are some really, really good moments that we'll talk about from this that are just classic MSG moments. But it's not as bad as the first ever MSG show. It's not as bad as Night 1 from 2008, which I really didn't think that was that good of a show. It just doesn't serve a lot of memories. John and I were talking about this before coming on, and I'm trying to retrace my steps and what I was doing that day. I remember all the other MSG shows, what I did, what I ate, what I drank, and all that stuff. I just remember that Matt was there, and I wasn't sitting with him. I was sitting with a kid that I went to college with, and then he bailed. and I had to sit next to his dad, who was really fucking awkward. So, besides that, I didn't get a poster, and that was kind of my mentality going into night 2 was I had to get a poster because I didn't get the night 1 poster, and that was.
Did you end up getting a night 1 poster? Have you found one since then?
I have not. No, this is one of the few shows that I don't have a poster for that I've been to. I'm not really a huge fan of it. It's like I guess it's been called the Pokemon poster because it kind of looks like a Pikachu. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like, I don't know, it's this little face with ears. It's okay. It's not something that I'm really sought after.
Well, if you're sitting at home and you're holding on to an extra one, send us an email, liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com, and Randy will make you an offer.
Yep, I'll take it off your hands. I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will never say no to a poster of a show that I've been to, that's for sure.
I'm only missing the Atlanta '98 poster of the shows that I went to. So if anyone,
that's got to be a tough one. Yeah,
it is.
That's in somebody's storage unit right there.
Right. Well, it's not. A lot of those '98s are great. We don't have to get deep in the weeds on posters, but a lot of the '98s are really, really good and really, really expensive. But the Atlanta one, I don't think is one of those. So I'm hoping it'll pop up at some point. I'm
gonna have to look at it. I don't think I know it. I'm trying to think of what it is, and the only '98 one that I really know is the MSGs and the Continental Airlines, whatever they want to call that arena, the East Rutherford one. It's kind of
I think at that point, I didn't even know that the posters were a thing, so I don't even think I knew to even go look for one.
Right. I think this was like this. I remember I got the poster at Hartford. That was about a week before this, and that was the first poster that I got at a show, even though that was my 3rd show. This one talking about today was my 4th. And I remember just really, I was into it, and I just wanted every single piece of merchandise that they ever released. And the posters being the most sought after thing, obviously I'm going to want that as a piece of my memory from being at the show. But I will take getting the night 2 poster and my story from getting the night 2 poster over getting the night 1 one.
Awesome. That's for sure. Can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. Again, I don't remember a lot leading up to this show. It was almost 10 years ago. Backspacer was out. It was pretty fresh, about 6 months or 7 months, something like that. And I was into everything, and I kind of, at this point, I wanted to go to and take in as much as I could, and I think I knew that I was never going to miss an MSG show after this point. So, really, that's it. I don't remember what we did. I don't remember how we got there. I remember Matt and Steve both being there, and Matt has a ton of pictures from this show because he was up pretty close. So if we haven't shared them on social media already, we will this week. I know he has some amazing photos that he wants to share with everybody. So
no, was this a lottery thing? Did you win a lottery on this, or was this like 10 Club, or how did this go for MSG? Is it different than normal? Because there's no GA, right?
There's no GA. It is seats, but it's done the same way. However they were doing the lottery at that point, they do it differently now. But based off of your number, you get picked. And I think Steve has a pretty good number, so Steve was able to get tickets pretty up close. I don't remember how I grabbed my seats. I know that originally I had tickets to just night 1 and not night 2. And then Steve had a wedding that he had to go be in, so Steve gave me his night 2 tickets, and that's how I got really good tickets for night 2.
Okay.
But I was somewhere. I was center, and if it were a hockey game at the Garden, I'd probably be like 10 to 12 rows back. Like right above one of the goals, but. I don't have a lot of vivid visual memories from this show, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I know, you've been to all the MSG shows, right? Since 08?
Since the first
Or-
one. Yeah, since the first
Yeah,
one I went to. Yeah, I've been to all 5.
And those are notoriously hard to come by. I know the last time they did the lottery, I think they got hundreds of thousands of requests for that show. So that's something too that you've been able to make it to everyone. I know a lot of people want to go and not everyone can get in. So you consider yourself lucky. That's great.
It hasn't been easy and it hasn't been cheap. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I think the 2016 shows, I think I got locked out on both of them. And I don't think I had tickets to that night one show until about 3 weeks before. But I was going all the way. Like I was going no matter what. If it was $200 day of, I was going to do it. But yeah, you're right. It is pretty lucky that all this hype for the MSG shows that I was able to get to all of these, and even the Brooklyn, you gotta remember the Brooklyn shows too that they did in 2013. Like those are kind of have to be treated like MSG shows almost. It's the same crowd. It's obviously a different venue, but it's the same demand.
Yeah. Those are great shows. But MSG has the aura and the history behind it. That makes it a special thing.
Yeah, MSG, you don't get much better than that. The legends who have performed there have been countless. The sporting events that have been there, we can go on and on and on. And it's, again, the world's most famous arena for a reason. I basically, I spent half of my life there and half of my salary that I made in the last 10 years going to hockey games and going to concerts and doing whatever there. I have lots of good memories from MSG, and that's one of the reasons why doing this series was so important to Matt and I at the time, was just because all of everything that MSG means to us. It it felt right to pay it back a little bit. So let's get into the show. It starts off the same exact way that a show that we did 2 weeks ago started off. If you remember, Glasgow 2 weeks ago started off with Sometimes in Break or Fall. That's exactly how this one starts. And it's interesting because you get, and I really want to talk about this, the 10-year difference and the difference in the way that the songs are performed and the attitude of the band on stage. And I remember saying for Sometimes in that episode from Glasgow that it sounded really like the album version, that it had that kind of like timid tiptoe to it. And this version was more of the version that you would get nowadays, where it's just kind of it's a sing-along. Ed is kind of bantering with the crowd.
Sing if you know it. Seek my heart. Like a bird amongst the many who own a shell. Sometimes I know, sometimes I rise, sometimes I fall, sometimes I know, sometimes I creep, sometimes I live, sometimes I walk, sometimes I kneel, sometimes I speak of nothing at all. Sometimes I reach to myself.
Well, I like both of them. The original Sometimes is, it's meant to be kind of restrained and tense, and it makes a perfect opening track for No Code because it kind of like sets the tone for it being kind of uneasy, maybe. Like it's a little. It lets you know that there's things are going to get weird a little bit, maybe. It's not going to. It doesn't come out blistering fast. It doesn't come out like rocking. It's like maybe sit down, get some headphones on. We're gonna be here for a while. So I like both of them. This one though, I love this Sometimes with where you get a little bit of the screaming there in the second verse. He lets loose a little bit and people are into it. Sometimes in a Break or Fall is not something you get all the time, and it's crazy that we would get it these two shows that we've covered back to back or 2 weeks back. But I love Sometimes Into Breaker Fall. It's a great start.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We had for a while, we had a curse where we would get a debut of a song like MFC it happened to, or I can't remember exactly, like Amongst the Waves or something like that. We would get that for the first time. We'd be really excited to cover it, and then Green Disease was one, and we would get it the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we would continue talking about it, which was good because we were able to do what we're doing now and kind of compare contrast. But it was kind of like, okay, it's a little bit overkill. But yeah, Sometimes Into Breaker Fall doesn't happen that often,
and it usually means you're in for like a crazy show.
Sure,
because it's like, oh, what are we gonna get? 'Cause this is about to get weird.
Right. Yeah, it was the only time I've ever seen Breaker Fall, and pretty excited to get it. And also, this is something that's really weird because the next two up are Last Exit and Animal. The first 3 songs are all album openers.
That's true.
And I don't know when the last time or when they've ever done something like that before is.
I'm sure it's happened before.
Maybe.
That's something we can look into.
Brain of Jay being in there, that's
Yeah.
a Dave question for you. It's interesting for sure that they would start off the gate, and that's really the defining theme for the early section here is just really fast paced, really quick songs, getting out to a fast start, getting out to kind of a hard start.
It felt like you snapped your fingers and you were already into song 4. Like,
Yeah,
I love this first 4. Like, I'll take this, like, no code, binaural, Vitalogy, verses. Like, I'll take that in a first 4 at any show.
what I will say about this whole entire set, that it's really eclectic in the way that they're using pretty much every single album is covered in this. And I think
Except for one. We'll talk about that a little later. But
Okay.
there's one album that's criminally underserved in this show.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right. I think they do one. Is it one song off of it?
I believe it is.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking on terms of they did more than one Riot Act song. They did more than one binaural song. They did more than one no code song. So I'm like, that's pretty high up there. But yeah, I think there is one glaring omission that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, this is just the crowd is alive. It's electric, especially on Animal, and really good bootleg recordings, especially around this time. It just allows you to hear the crowd really crisp, and they're on fire the whole night.
And you get a little bit in Last Exit where he talks about, going back to the stage bouncing that we guys talked about. He says during Last Exit, oh, I feel it.
Yeah.
So know that the crowd was into it from the very beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
And a great McCready solo on Last Exit too.
It was, yeah. I feel like Last Exit, we sort of glance over it sometimes, but you're right. Like, this was a really stellar performance of it, and this whole intro right here, going into a few more, going into the Fixer and Severed Hand, which is fine. I think you kind of change it up after the first 4 being just kind of lights out, pretty much a 1-2-3 inning, and then the Fixer being kind of poppy and sing along. And I get that they have to get it in at the time. It's the time frame. So I'm not anti-Fixer at this point. And then Severed Hand. I don't know how you feel about Severed Hand. Have we talked about that before? Because you're not an Avocado guy.
Not really. I think Avocado suffers from, it could have been angrier for the subject matter and the time that it came out, but Severed Hand is probably the best live song on Avocado. Okay. So that's one that I don't mind seeing when it pops up. And, Ed's being very emotive with his hands and acting out, and and another great mic solo in this one too. So yeah, Severed Hand, I don't mind. If it was Worldwide Suicide or something else like that, I would take a little more issue with it. But no, Severed Hand is fine.
Okay, yeah, I feel like that was a really good cap to this first 6 section here, and even Severed Hand, which is a little longer than the first 5, really still felt like it was still in that mode of being just fast, quick, and driving.
Well, I think for me, like after those first four to get the fixer after it just kind of kills the momentum. Like it's like because Backspacer is such a mood shift from those first four because you get, like I said, you get No Code, Binaural, Vitology, Verses, and then to throw a Backspacer song in, I think it just kind of like just killed the flow for me. I mean, even maybe a Gonna See My Friend or a Got Some would have been better, but the fixer is just it just seems kind of like it's almost like filler.
I think Got Some would have worked there. Yes, I'm saying something positive about Got Some right now. Call.
We did it, people. Yay!
Call the presses. But I don't think Gonna See My Friend would work. I think I think there needs to be some progression in some way or another. If I'm fine with going to the fixer here because it does sort of get you out of the really fast open,
and it's not a bad version. Like the crowd,
no.
The crowd does great singing. They sing along in the chorus. Like people are excited about the song. I'm sure if like you were there, I'm sure it was great. But just looking at flow, like just the fixer is not one that I clamor to see.
2018, 2019, 2018, whatever year you want to say, if they do the fixer after Animal, I'm probably not very happy with it. In 2010, it's fine because it's still, it's still pretty fresh. It's still pretty fresh. So that gets us through the first six, and then Ed says, "Don't mind us. We should just keep going. Good evening, New York. Nice not to be here." Not just in New York City, but nice to be in front of the world's most famous arena. And that gets us into a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And this, and I know I kind of lightly mentioned how good the crowd was this night, this is something I vividly remember from this night. There are like 2 or 3 things that really stand out to me and say I'm at a goddamn Pearl Jam show. An Elderly Woman, which I think this was the first time I had heard it out of, the 4 shows that I'd been to. This one was just incredible. You get from the start, and you can hear on the bootleg that the crowd is louder than Ed, and he's sort of, I don't know if he's taken aback or if he's like really like, he's enjoying it and he's just kind of gearing into it, but you hear at some points the crowd is just, it's louder than him.
Oh, I just want to scream. Oh my God, it's been too long. Never dreamed you'd return. But now here we are. Going through I am lost and lost in pain.
Single person in that crowd is screaming back to them, and I've never heard a crowd so loud before in my life. That's before that point. I think later on in later years, obviously it's gotten better, but man, was that such a high point for this show.
Oh yeah, it's a great moment, and Small Town has a nice pace to it too. It's a little faster than they normally play it, I think, maybe because of the place in the set. But I thought it had a nice pace and a nice tempo to it.
I think it's kind of coming off of that, basically that 20-minute 6-song start. I think it's kind of coming off of that, because I thought that coming out of that, I Am Mine was a really fast version of I Am Mine. And I don't know if it took me out of that version, but it sort of, it didn't sound like they were trying to get the best out of that song.
I like this version of I Am Mine. The guitars are a little choppier. It's a little grittier than the album version, and I like that a lot better than the kind of like, the people call it the sea shanty or the 3/4 time signature that it's in.
Some people have even sang it as a sea shanty.
This one's it's got a little bit of bite to it. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a little rushed for me. I like when this is kind of more euphoric, but this was a little bit more like, raise your pint glass in the air and sing along, which is not bad, but still, a lot of songs in this show, especially early on, first version that I'm hearing them. So and this one was that. So, but just a quick note: every time Matt is ever at a show, he gets "I Am Mine" and "Crazy Mary," no matter what. No matter what, he gets it. Boston Night 2, I told him, I'm like, they're not going to do "I Am Mine" because they did it the previous Boston year in 2016. I don't think that they would do that again. And boom, middle of the set, they busted out, and he just looks at me like, I always get it.
Maybe they see his hair and they're like, that's the guy, we got to do it.
He did not have the hair at the time. Not at
Maybe
this
it was
time.
the lack of hair. He's something. He's a memorable guy. What can we say?
His cologne. We'll just put it that way. Maybe the
or lack of.
Or they're like, oh, what is that? All right, I am mine. Fuck it. Jeez. That kind of ends sort of a little mid-set cool down a little bit into Comatose, which was just. I thought Comatose was a train wreck from this night. It's suffering from being out of tune and down tune and a couple of misplaced notes. Oof. It's hard. The more we do this, it's hard to get a perfect version of Comatose that we really like, that feels like it's taking the energy of the album song and it's transmitting it through a live stage. But this was just an absolute train wreck. It was an abortion.
And this is a weird place for Comatose too. Like normally a lot of times you'll see him throw it in an encore or even an encore 2, like near the end or at the very beginning, but this is a weird place to hear Comatose.
Yeah, it doesn't really vibe with I Am Mine or Force of Nature at all. It's kind of, both those songs have very different tempos, and Comatose, if you wanted to do like Force of Nature out of I Am Mine, then Comatose into Even Flow, I would have been down with that. I would have been okay with that because then you're building to something that's a little greater. But yeah,
well, I'll just go ahead and say this whole let's just get into it. This whole first set is so disjointed. Like usually I will give Ed credit for he goes back and looks at the set list and he tries to. We talked about how things flow and how things go up and down, and he's kind of like he can read the crowd and see where to put things, but. This, after Animal, after that first 4 from the Fixer on, this is almost like they threw darts at album tracks. And it's like, well, let's do this one and then this one and then this one and this one. Like it doesn't really have a flow to it. It just seemed really disjointed to me.
Yeah, I disagree with that because I think that there were some pace change. Like I feel like the Fixer for you is what threw it off, and the Fixer was enough of a pace changer that it kind of took you in a bit of a different direction, but it kept you sectioned more. But I can agree that this Comatose is misplaced, but my problem is really after Even Flow. That's where I have a major problem of things being disjointed and things being.
And this is a late Even Flow too. We're looking at number what, like 11
or 12, set? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you're right. It is a little late, which also kind of leads way to why after Even Flow things didn't quite stick as much. But we have to kind of mention, before Even Flow, we have to mention Force of Nature because it's a Live on Four Legs debut. As most of you know that we did the trivia last week, name all the debuts. I bet you people saw that and they were like, well, fuck that. I don't know how to find any of that. You're supposed to just guess, people. That's the fun of it. Force of Nature was on that list. It is no longer on that list.
this version, like, it's better than the studio version. I think that Force of Nature is like a complete filler song on Backspacer. To me, it's one of probably in my bottom 10 of Pearl Jam songs. Like, I just don't seek it out ever. But this version, it was better than the album version, so I'll give it credit for that.
You know, again, this is only the 11th time that they've ever played it, and this was the last. It's never been seen after this night. And I thought that this was a good version. I didn't see, you know, if I were the band, I would have felt pretty good after it, saying, you know what, let's try it again for a couple of nights. But, you know, aside from the drop tuning on a lot of the new songs, you've seen it on the Lightning Bolt songs where they've had to drop Getaway, where they've had to drop My Father's Son. I think that sort of throws them off a little bit when they've had to change the tuning because Ed can't hit those notes as well on the live stage anymore. And that might be why they don't want to do it.
I mean, yeah, once you get into your 50s, the voice is one of the first things to go.
Right. And maybe that's why we're not seeing the 2019 tour, because he wants to hold everything in for the studio tracks that they're allegedly preparing for right now.
Yeah, there's some rumblings about some things happening, so we'll see what happens.
We don't do rumors on this show. We don't have rumors. We don't know of anything that's going on, but just stay tuned. Maybe something will happen. I know everybody was anticipating it last year and nothing happened. Force of Nature. I think there's been more of a discussion between fans saying that they want to hear it again. I think that there have been people that are. Oh,
there's better songs that can bring back people. Let's focus on other things.
I agree. I think if you're going to bring back anything full-time or at least partial time from that album, it's got to be Gonna See My Friend, because that you can fit in to get some energy in the set. I don't know how that's not implemented more than it is. But I'll
agree with that. Yeah. But I think if the people that are asking for Force of Nature to come back, those are just the people that need it to complete their stats. Yeah. Not because it's an actually good song.
Right. I feel that way about Supersonic. I'm not a Supersonic fan at all. I think it's just kind of, it's whatever. It's kind of a punk song, but it really doesn't go anywhere. The lyrics are kind of meh. But if I ever hear it live, I finish Backspacer, so it's a win for me.
Yeah.
It's all about the numbers, you guys. So, yeah, Force of Nature goes in even flow. I mean, it's... The most important part about this even flow is that you don't get it night 2. So how rare is that they did 13 shows on this little leg? It was kind of an East Coast leg here. And the next night 2 was the only night that they didn't do even flow. And that's this is the only 10 song in the main set, which is so weird. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. But was that wasn't what you were alluding to before? Okay, no, good, because we have
weird in its own right.
That is true.
Where's Garden? Where's Why Go? Where's Oceans in this set?
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Ed, after Even Flow, mentions that he was happy to play with the Black Keys. 2 nights ago in Newark, they were asked to dedicate a song to somebody's dad because they couldn't make it to the Garden, but he did. And at the time, I guess he was saying that he was fighting to stay on this planet. So Ed takes a request here, and it's Low Light. This section here, let's package most of this together and sort of... I'll run down the next 5 because they really kind of get played in streamlined here. It's Low Light, Down, I Got Shit, Army Reserve, Insignificance. My problem here is that none of them mesh well together. They're all sort of songs that you need to place with some more popular songs. What if A Daughter were somewhere in this? What if Better Man were somewhere in this? The juice is gone. Like I got Shit would have juice anywhere else except for this section.
Yep, I agree. And the thing is, and we talk about too, Pearl Jam shows are about moments, right? It's about those memorable moments in the songs that the band plays that you remember. It's
Yeah.
pumping your fist during Why Go, or it's Do the Evolution, or it's things like that. Where this whole main set is missing those moments, right? That they didn't give you a daughter where you get to do the call and response or something cool like that.
Right.
They didn't give you an immortality. They didn't give you a better man. So it's just missing. It's almost like I said. It's like throwing darts at album tracks, and it's just so disjointed. There's nothing for the crowd to hold on to and reach for and give back to the band. It's just like, oh, here's a collection of songs. It just seemed really weird to me when I was listening to it.
And I think Lowlight at this time is still progressing into what it is now. If it were in the section now, I think it gets a little bit more, it feels a little bit more strong, but at this point it hasn't really, it's hitting its stride, it's starting to hit its stride, but it's more popular now than it was back then. But Down is just kind of, it's fun, it's fine, but it needs to be complemented with something else. I Got Shit, it's fun, it's fine, it needs to be complemented with something else. Army Reserve, that point in the set, I remembered just, I didn't really know this song that well because it's just a deep avocado song, and I'm more into the Life Wasteds and the Comatoses of the world. So I know what the song is, but it's not a song you can sing along to. So
Exactly.
you hear the chorus and you're just kind of bored. It's just kind of boring.
Yeah, and then it's boring because there's no big moment.
There's no
in it.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You're not leading to anything. There's no solo. It's just kind of that ongoing riff, that na 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 na. It's I think I remember at this point, somebody was smoking a joint next to me, and they were blowing the smoke in my face. And I don't think I was really much of a smoker at this time. That was really more of my younger phase. But I remember looking at him dead in the eyes. I said, if you're going to blow that smoke in my face, you might as well just pass it over. So I went and I took a hit or two, and I'm just like, there, I'm fine. And I remember, I wasn't smoking a lot at the time, so I felt like I was a little bit of a lightweight at this point. So during Army Reserve and Insignificance and Do the Evolution, I was a little high. And then once the encore hit, it had worn off a little bit.
Sure.
It might have been a little bit of a contact high. So,
But again, I'll say, where's Black? Where's Daughter? Where's Immortality in this spot?
yeah,
The set is screaming for something like that, for the crowd to hold on to and to take over.
The best thing about sets is getting a build to something big, and none of this. Your big moment should be Evolution, and Unthought Known is a really good build to get to Do the Evolution, but everything else is a flat, just boring bathroom break for some people. Even Insignificance, I like Insignificance live, and I think this might have been the only time I've ever seen it, but even Grievance has more juice to it. If they did Grievance after Army Reserve, at least it's got the pounding drums and
and again, and we're not saying these versions are terrible. Insignificance is cool, Stones dancing around like a madman.
Yeah,
they get shout out to Keeley doing the lights when that stop in Insignificant, when the lights go out, then they come back on. That was a cool moment. But it's just not. It's like they were saving all of the classic things for night 2.
Right. They made a night 2 set before they made a night 1 set, and I think that might have been a little bit detrimental to this one. I think I agree with that. If they would have taken a little bit, but you can play stuff from night 2 on night 1, and it will still be okay. But I think that they were really trying to get 2 completely different set lists in. If I remember correctly, the only songs that they played twice were Do the Evolution, Unthought Known, Fixer, and Alive.
And you've got to do Evolution because it was 2010, so it does work in the song. So I can understand why they would do that one.
I had the hoodie that said 2010 tour, and there was, it didn't say 2010 Watch It Go to Fire, but I think there was a flame, the PJ logo with a flame on the front.
Cool.
And I think people were calling it the 2010 Watch It Go to Fire tour, which is completely perfect. But the band wasn't calling it that. But I think some savvy fans decided that that's what it would be dubbed. Unthought Known, Evolution end the first set. Do you have anything else on the previous 5? Nothing sounds bad, but I think put together, it's just...
before Unthought Known, Ed talks about the tremoring a little bit when the stage was shaking, and he mentions, he says, "Oh, this one's a little slow burn, but it gets there." So he's asking for them to start shaking the stage again during Unthought Known, which is a weird song to be asking that for. It seemed like, wait till Evolution, which is the classic one.
Right.
It's like Unthought Known is probably the best song on Backspace, or the best live one maybe. But it seemed weird to me that he was asking for that iconic moment during Unthought Known.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think maybe he felt the passion from that song, and I think, again, they were doing this one every night during this tour, so they were really starting to feel this one live.
Sure.
But you're right. I don't remember really the stage shaking at all, and really during this tour, it's starting to become popular, but it's popular later. I think fans are singing along with it and clapping along later. The beginning of the song, how everybody's clapping all throughout the beginning part up until the Gems and Rhinestones. The clapping fades off, and people don't realize that you're supposed to clap during that whole thing. So it's not there yet. What could have shook the stage? Spin the Black Circle right before Evolution. How awesome would that have been?
Absolutely.
That would have been great. And obviously, you take it as a grain of salt, because you can't go back and change the set list, and you can't call Pearl Jam offices and be like, well, in 2010, you guys, you did Unthought Known before Evolution, and it really didn't work, especially for Madison Square Garden. Can't do that.
I know, and I'll give, like I said before, I usually give the band full credit for making the set list. Like, they switch it up, they take risks, and just, if I go down this list, like Fixer, Severed Hand, Small Town, I Am Mine, Comatose, Force of Nature, Even Flow, Low Light Down, I Got Shit, Army Reserve, Insignificance, Unthought Known, Do the Evolution. Like, it's just too disjointed and too random. Like, there's no high points, there's no moments. It really took me out of the show when I was listening to it.
Right. Again, the positive point here is that every album is really getting a little bit of its due. You're getting something from the Vitalogy era, at least. You're getting something from Binaural. You're getting something from Avocado. Everything is sort of getting a little bit of play, but
with that said, the encores are fantastic. The encores are fantastic. So let's get into that.
Yes, let's get into the encore. So the first encore starts off with Ed telling a little bit of story. This is a great story, like a classic Eddie story to me. He tells a story about how he knew he was in New York City because he was walking down the street, and I'm paraphrasing a lot of this, and he had a green light, and he kind of almost got sideswiped by a cab. And the guy, he said, that was driving the cab must have been in Jersey the night before, because he said, "Hey, Eddie, great show. Fuck you." And then introduces the next song. But yeah, that's a classic Eddie New York story right there.
Yeah, I think it was the guy was simultaneously recognized him and was getting cut off in the other lane or something.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, hey, turn one way. Hey, Eddie, great show. Turn the other way. Fuck you. Like, yeah, that's a classic.
Wouldn't you want to be known as the guy who hit Eddie Vedder with his car?
No, I don't want that on me. You can have that.
I didn't say. I said
I don't need that kind of karma.
Wouldn't you? I didn't say wouldn't I. So funny story kind of turns into Ed saying, well, next song is one of the sadder songs we know, and that's The End. Not a song we talk about a whole lot on this show. We've covered it probably a couple times because we've done the Backspacer tour a little bit. But they have a string quartet accompanying him. It's a violin, a cello, viola, and something else. I'm not too sure.
Was it two violins? Maybe there might be two violins.
Yeah, I think there was a first and a second violin. You're right. Mm-hmm. It's a really sad song live, and sort of you're not sure how to react to it because they're just kind of playing. They're not playing it for something or somebody. It's not like saying, "Hey, this family is going through something right now, and I really want to play it for him." It doesn't, it's just kind of playing a song to promote an album, and it just sort of, while this is a really good and fun encore, the mood starts off really depressing, and it's a good thing that
it's a function too of having, they knew they were going to get the string quartet.
Sure.
They're like, which songs can we fit in with this, and that's one. And Pearl Jam, play the sad ones. Don't feel bad. Like people, we need the sad ones sometimes.
Sure.
But I think it was a function of having the string quartet and working up something, like you said, from the latest album. It works with the strings, so I think that's why you get it here.
Right, and again, not something they were doing enough at the time. Not something you'll really hear them do now or hear us talk about now.
I think I heard this the first time at one of Ed's solo shows in 2009 before Backspacer came out. He played it.
Oh,
and
okay.
That was cool. Yeah,
interesting, cool. But the next thing, very memorable.
Love
All
this.
Right, so it's not another way to skin a cat, but it's something. Obviously, night 2 is Lucan 2, and that's the one that everybody remembers. But you gotta give a little love to this, and Ed just saying, fuck it, we're doing it.
Walk down the street, carrying the keys to my own fucking home. I take a walk so I can curse my ass for being dumb. After the I'm just digging grease and love. Top of the supermarket, people stare like I'm a dog. I'm gonna Lucas. I got a spot in Lucas. Knock the door, Lucas. Open the fridge. Now I know love is red. I find my key, but I return. I find an open door. Some fucking freak who came to follow by a woman's head. My finger down and never done. Unless I heard the freak was purchasing a fucking gun.
Oh, this is fantastic.
This is Lucan 1.5, I guess. If you want to call it anything. But it's really just, it's Ed having fun. And, he said afterwards, he wrote the song at 4 a.m. surrounded by empty beer bottles and said, this would sound great with strings on it.
And he was right. It does sound great. This is that moment that the first set was lacking. It's something that people are going to remember. It's something they don't normally do. So I'm sure, being there, you're like, this is crazy. Like you never get Lucan solo, much less with strings. So I love this, and I will listen to it more than once this week after we're done here.
I'll tell you, I think, I tend to like this a little bit better than Lucan 2 because this is just them goofing around, and Lucan 2 is taking what Lucan is and completely doing the opposite. But
right.
Having this and then going the night after and getting Lucan 2, if they didn't do this, we would have been like, what the fuck are they doing to Lucan? But this is a really good tee up for what they would do the next night.
I agree. Yeah.
I think if you don't have this, just dicking around version and you just do, you just say, hey, we got strings, so we're going to do Lucan. You're like, oh, all right, cool. But That kind of came out of nowhere.
And imagine like the shit-faced grin that Eddie probably had on his face when he came up with this idea. They were like, we got the string quartet. We can do The End. We can do Just Breathe. And they were like, well, we could do Black, or we could do, Oceans. Or he's like, guys, we're going to do Lucan. It's going to be awesome. Can you imagine the look on his face when he said that? I would have loved to have been there.
Yeah, I can visualize that. I can definitely visualize that. He when he gets an idea in his mind, he's like, ooh, all right, we got something. Let's see if this works. So, Lucan 1.5, as we like to call this one.
Love it.
A lot of fun. String quartet stays out there, and we get Just Breathe. It sounds really good with the strings, and the rest of the band accompanies all of them. So we get the bass line.
We get that lovely bass line. Oh, it's so good.
Mm-hmm. You get Matt's backup vocals. Everything is here. So this is really good. I think the Night 2 version of this was a little bit more refined, but this, again, you can't go wrong with the string quartet being there and them just doing a classic song.
Did I say that I need you? Oh, did I say that I want you? Oh, if I didn't, I'm a fool to see. No one knows this more than me. As I come clean, I wonder every day as I look upon your face on. Everything you did and nothing you would take on. Nothing you would take. Everything you gave.
Just Breathe is great. It's emotional. It's got meaning behind it. It's one of the highlights on Backspacer, and it's great here with the strings.
You Are, after Just Breathe, we never talk about You Are, so what do you think?
It's, again, anytime you get something off a Riot Act, you count your blessings and you consider yourself lucky. It works better live. Again, it's not a song on the album that I usually seek out, but I think it works well live, and it's got this version has a cool outro and a cool solo. So I think it's kind of weird coming off of the string quartet songs to go into something like this, but it's almost like, this is the Given to Fly spot, or the Better Man spot. But this is it's a cool song, and again, something off a Riot Act, and Mike does a great job on the solo. It's a great solo at the end.
This whole section here, after You Are, you get Love Rain, great, powerful version of the song.
I do have to mention, I have to channel Matt for a second.
Okay.
Boom does fuck up the end of the intro. So maybe, if you were there, I'm sure Matt held up the sign saying, like, you fucked up, maybe take it again for the bootleg.
Well, Matt was a very young musician at the time. I don't know if he was that savvy, or I don't think he was picking it off yet. I think
I'm sure he folded his hands and turned around in protest.
Yeah,
but no, Love Rain Over Me is great, and like you said, this next set of songs is what this show is begging for.
Yes, 100%. And after Love Rain, it's Pete Townshend's birthday around this time, so no birthday song, but the whole crowd just says happy birthday, Pete, and it gets us in the State of Love and Trust. Once, Porch. This is around the time where State of Love and Trust is a Gotta Have It song for me live. I'm doing So Loud Aerobics, which we've mentioned on the show before.
You were late to that. It was a go-to song for everyone else in 1995.
Well, yeah, I know.
You were a little late to the party on that one.
Look, better late than never.
Sure, absolutely.
If it was a never, I would not be sitting in the seat right now. But So Loud Aerobics, we've talked about on the show before. I just do nothing but jump in one place during the song when I hear it live, and try to sing the songs as I'm out of breath by the 2.5 minutes it's done.
I see what you did there. Then you get Ed pointing the microphone out in the crowd. Letting the crowd sing the hey-ohs, and this is that moment. You get a 10 era song, one of those moments that this show was begging for, I think.
Yeah, and that really comes, again, vivid moments that I remember in this show. Once is one of the big ones, and Once is not something. I feel like when I hear it live, it's not something that really sticks out to me outside of everything else in the set. It's there and it's good and it fits like glue. But this one, seeing everybody at the end pump their fist while chanting "Once" back to Ed during that final chorus at the end.
Exactly.
Man, was this a powerful moment.
That's the one you want. And I totally agree. Once is not my favorite song off of 10 by a long shot, but at this point live, I would have been all about the pump in the fist.
Yeah, for sure. I think you had him at Lucan and you had him a little bit there, but there were some in there before State of Love and Trust that really weren't big time sing-alongs. This was a sing-along crowd. They wanted songs to be able to sing with, and Once is not the best sing-along, but at least it has a pretty catchy chorus, and it worked. It worked really well here. Porch, even if it had the riffy intro, the crowd is really into it. The McCready solo,
and it was a fast riffy intro too. It wasn't like one of the really slow ones. It had a little bit of tempo to it, which I thought helped.
Is this world running to you, dear? Leave a message, at least I could've learned your voice one last time. Barely my feel this could be my time by you. Would you hit me? Would you hit me?
I think I like this one.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not totally sure, but I think I gotta listen to it one more time. But I was not fully offended by it. I'm offended when Ed does the whole whisper thing near the end. I hate that. I think that's going a little bit too much. But this one sounded fine. This one sounded like it was a better intro into the song. But the McCready solo here is fantastic.
And then you get the call and response with Ed doing the complicated hey oh and getting the crowd to response, and they do a great job. You guys, give you credit. This MSG crowd is able to keep up with all of his vocal highs and lows in the call and response part.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to remember, it's not, the New York crowd is a strong crowd, but this is not just a New York crowd. This is also part Philly. It's part Boston. It's part everybody that is so hardcore into the band that wants to see them on this stage is going to see them on this stage. It's everybody. It's a culmination of the most the melting pot of Pearl Jam fans around the world.
I'm in Atlanta, and we've mentioned that before, but there was a show I think from '98 where he does a part I have to go back and listen to it, but I don't remember the song. But he does a call and response part, and it might have been in Boston, and he tells the crowd afterwards. He goes, "Oh, good job. We wouldn't give that part to Atlanta." And ever since I've heard that, I've been offended, and so every time if they come back, I'm gonna have to try really hard to yell really loud during those parts so we can rebuild our reputation.
Maybe that's why they haven't really come back.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Look,
but no, yeah, this version of Porch is great, and again, this encore one does go as far towards redeeming the show after the disjointed, uneventful set one, main set.
I agree, and I think all the energy is flowing really well into the second encore, and they're really sparing no time here. It goes right into Jeremy. There's no speaking, and it's really. I felt like the end happened really fast. Jeremy was just there, and it ended.
I love this Jeremy. Mike is running around the whole stage. You get the crowd going the whoas at the end really loud.
Right.
Stone's rocking out, which I always appreciate. So this version of Jeremy is a highlight for me.
Leash, Mankind together. This is for a lot of people. These are songs that people beg for. Leash, Mankind, back to back. I'm very, in the grand scheme of things and how, rare and crazy Night 2 was, how crazy would it have been to get one of Leash or Mankind on Night 2? I feel like...
Yeah, it would have destroyed the crowd.
Yeah. I didn't see either of them coming, to be honest. I didn't. You
never do, and that's what makes it a special moment, is that you don't see it coming.
Mm-hmm. That bass intro to Leash, they kind of do it a little quicker than it is on the album, so you're thinking for a second, you're like, wait a minute, what? And then once they kind of get into a little bit, when you finally hear the little mic wah-wah part, you're, okay, fuck, it's Leash. Awesome.
Did you catch the Leash? We did get a "Get Out of My Fucking Face." He did throw it in there one time. Yeah.
Yeah, we got one, but it was mostly
you'll take
Lucky
it
Face.
In 2010. You'll take it whenever you get it.
Yeah, but it was also "Get on My Fucking Face." It didn't have, he wasn't mad. This was a happy Leash. But you know what? Again, 2010, take Leash. Just
exactly.
Take it. Just take it. And I've only got
hold it close.
Time, so.
Don't let it go.
Mankind, never saw it again. This was the only time I've ever seen Stone sing live.
Hey, they made it through the whole song without having to stop, so A+.
Exactly. And it didn't, it wasn't perfect by any means. I think there were some points that felt a little awkward. I feel like sometimes, we've mentioned it, we've covered Mankind a bunch of times when we were doing No Code Era stuff, but I feel like Stone, sometimes when he grabs the microphone, there's like this feedback that comes back at him. I don't know what it is. If it's just, he hasn't touched the microphone all day, and it's his levels aren't right or something. But
yeah, they have to adjust it for his lead vocal versus his background vocals, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't feel right. It feels like he's there's some awkwardness to it. But again, I do remember this moment because I was closer to Stone's side than I was Mike's side, so I remember the spotlight being on Stone, and some people around me were just kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And then other people were losing their shit. So it was a mixed bag, even for an MSG crowd.
Yeah, and again, Mankind is something special that the band gives back to the crowd. It's like, because everybody's familiar with like the Let Stone Sing and the campaign and all of that. So
right.
Anytime you get this, it's definitely a cool moment to get something, especially off of No Code.
Yeah, and I love Stone in the beginning here. He says,
Oh, yeah,
didn't
he's
think
great.
I was going to do it. Didn't care, did you? It's just...
And it does have, and they do kind of a cool little jam in the middle part. Like they're kind of playing around with it. Like I really like this version.
It's just effort, imitations, pattern on me. What's got the whole faking? 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 What's got the whole faking?
Outside of Stone's mic having a little bit of weird reverb, I was very happy to hear it. And, we're getting closer to the end of the set here, so it's cool that the rare stuff are kind of happening pretty late. And it's pretty basic from here on out. You get Crazy Mary, I Believe in Miracles, Alive Indifference, but it doesn't feel basic. It's paper basic, basically, but it's a very strong ending to the show. Crazy Mary, again, this is one Matt gets every single time he is in the audience, but there are two awesome moments about this performance. One is another big crowd moment.
One night the thunder cracked, Mercy backed outside her windowsill. Dreamed I was flying high above the trees over the hill. Looked down into the house of Mary and Indifference. A bare bones fall, newspaper cover walls. Mary
Everybody is singing, and Ed lays off, and he's like, he knows when the crowd is going to do their job, and he gives it to them, and it's another euphoric moment from this show.
I agree. Yeah, it was fantastic. And then the Mike and Boom solo.
Yes.
Normally they play off each other, and if I'm gonna go a little bit, I'm gonna make a little video game metaphor here. Normally they're playing 1v1, and this version they're playing co-op. So like they go together. Like Mike goes over to where the keyboards are, goes up to Boom, and they kind of solo together. It's really cool. I really like it.
Is. Yeah. This is a unique version, and then you get at the end of this. I was waiting for it because I hadn't listened to this version in a long time, and I couldn't remember where they did it. But Mike does the little snippet of "Stairway to Heaven" solo at the end. Miracles, you usually get a Ramones song at Madison Square Garden. I feel like we've covered this one a bunch in the last couple weeks.
It's a New York staple, and I'm sure they made the pilgrimage down to CBGB's earlier in the day to pay their respects.
Sure, yeah. And Alive sounds great, as good as ever. Plug for Patreon here. We did an Alive episode that was released last week. It is up. It's the Evolution episodes. If you liked the Yellow Ledbetter Evolution episode, you're really going to like the Alive one. I really feel like we found a groove with this, and more to come. These are really fun episodes.
Yeah, and we were able to give a little special bonus to our patrons too. So hopefully all you guys enjoyed that.
Yes, for becoming a patron, you not only get to come on the show or have us cover a show that you want us to do, but John is good enough to send you some stuff that not every Pearl Jam fan has, because John has access to a lot of good stuff. So head on over to patreon.com/live on four legs. We have all the
I won't say that
there.
I've gone on the deep web, but I haven't not gone on the deep web.
We'll get you something good. We promise.
Yeah, and like I said, we want to make we want people to be able to hear the cool stuff that we're doing. We're going to be doing more stuff like this. So again, now's a great time to jump onto Patreon if you've been thinking about it.
Absolutely. Yep. It only takes $1 a month. It every part helps out the show, and we give as much back as we can to you guys. But one of the things that we talked about in this live episode was really after talking about the curse being broken, and really I feel like that kind of came after that Seattle 2000 show where they played it for the first time after Roskilde. It is the moment of the night where everybody is waiting for, and they're waiting to erupt to hear this. And there's not a lot of bad versions, but if you're going to Madison Square Garden, you're expecting to hear this, and you're expecting to get something awesome. And this is terrific. I got no other words for it besides the crowd did all the crowd chantings. There was, the crowd knows of course there is at this point. So they, it's a savvy crowd. They know what they're doing. They're chanting their haze. It's, it's part of the curse being broken here.
And, this is the celebration, right?
Yes.
So you get Ed running over to each speaker and thanking the crowd. You get Mike jumping up on the speaker to do the solo. This is the one where they're giving back to the crowd now, saying thank you for the show. Here's this moment that you've been waiting for.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're celebrating the night.
And, interesting here that there's really no bread and butter. The bread and butter that we always talk about being alive into rockin' or Baba.
Yeah, no black at this show.
No black, no Ledbetter. But, for me, no Ledbetter, no problem this show. I think at this time, this being the second of this tour, I had gotten Indifference at Hartford, getting it here. I sort of wanted, I was sort of ready for Ledbetter, but Ledbetter's really a night 2 show. Everybody knows that. I was naive at the time. Take Indifference when you can, people. Indifference, if you get a good live crowd for Indifference with the lights on, oh my God,
I'm sure it was at this venue. It would have been amazing to see.
Incredible. My mind changed after this. I said, you know what? Yeah, Ledbetter's great and all, but Indifference is a freaking game changer at the end. To get the whole entire crowd is singing the whole song, every single lyric.
I was swallowed poison until I go with you. I will scream my lungs out till it fills this room. How much difference those it made.
Yeah, it filled the goddamn room.
Yeah,
it's a big room and it filled it.
Yeah, Indifference is a special way. I mean, Ledbetter is the celebration and it's the big Mike moment, but Indifference is such a cool way to end a show. Like it's just so special, especially in something like this.
Yeah, and you got to think, for them to, and Jeff especially, to break out the stand-up bass again to end the night is such, who the fuck else does that? No, you end, Kiss isn't breaking out a stand-up bass. No, they're ending with Rock and Roll All Night because that's the only thing they know how to do. Bruce is ending with Born to Run because that's what he knows. Nobody else does shit like this. It's great. Just when you're thinking about live shows and you're thinking about Pearl Jam and what Pearl Jam has brought to the table, just know that no other band in the world can go into Madison Square Garden and, finish the night with one of their most depressing and dreary and just a song you hear on the album and you're like, why did it finish this way? It was so raunchy before this, and now it sort of ends on such a depressing but powerful note. It takes on a new life when you hear it live.
And again, I talked about Encore 1 being fantastic and kind of redeeming the lackluster main set, but this Encore 2 is fantastic as well. Like, both of these encores are some of the best I've seen.
Yeah, the encores are what I remember about the show the most. Definitely. Mostly Indifference, mostly Leash and Mankind, but the encores make it stick out. So that was night 1, 2010, and let's pick 3 moments that we enjoyed from it, John.
All right, number 3, I'm going to go with Jeremy. I think coming out in that Encore 2, getting the crowd to do the woes, that was a moment that needed to happen in this show. And like I said, Stone rocking out is always a bonus for me. And then a great McCready song with him running around the whole stage in a circle. So I thought that was a great moment for Jeremy. Number 2, I'm going to go Last Exit, going back to the beginning of the show where he says, he points to the stage, goes, I feel it, I feel you. And then another great mic solo. And my number 1, I'm going to go with Lucan, being the solo version with the strings. If I'd been there, I would have melted into a puddle of whatever I'm made of, because that was a cool as fuck moment. I wish I would have been there to see it.
Yeah, my puddle was probably of Miller Lite or Bud Light, whatever it was,
and marijuana at that point, probably. Right?
Yeah, the little contact eye that I had. Okay, I'm gonna leave Lucan 1.5 out of my top 3, even though it probably is a top 3. There's specific moments that I really remember from this crowd. All 3 of my moments are crowd moments and not band moments. Number 3 is going to be Once, and during that final chorus, everybody pumping their fist, once, and going back and forth and back and forth. It just reminded me how great the MSG crowd is, and how jaded you can be when you go outside of the big cities. And I've been to smaller city show too, and I've been like, what, this doesn't have that MSG vibe to it, and it's you almost expected that, which is it's upsetting, but you after a while you're just like, okay, it's just a different venue, so take it for what it is, but also don't take for granted that you're in Madison Square Garden and you're maybe never going to see something like this again. So number 2, we just talked about it, Indifference. The way that it ended the show, the way that, again, the lights are off and everybody is clapping in the beginning and they're singing along to every word, and it's really, it's sort of, I feel like the crowd broke that curse too, because that could have been a song that maybe Ed said was, really weighed on him a little bit. Who knows? It's got some depressing lyrics in it, but this is one that the crowd turns from depressing into a huge pick-me-up, and
yeah, it's almost uplifting.
It was absolutely uplifting, and a perfect way to end the night. But number 1 is easily Elderly Woman for me, and how loud the crowd was, and it really. It's disappointing that we didn't get Better Man, that we didn't get A Daughter, because the crowd was really ready for that stuff, especially 6 or 7 songs in where Elderly Woman was. They were in the mood to erupt, and you just heard it, you felt it. every single person. I think during the hello part, the lights kind of shined on everybody, and you can see up into the rafters. You can see the person in the last row, and I remember everybody just singing along, and and sort of swaying to it, and kind of like almost like I don't want to say a shanty, but sort of like just kind of a pub sing along almost.
There you go.
But
yeah,
just such a memorable moment for me from this show. It's all crowd stuff here.
cool. Yeah, I like it.
This is a really, really tough one to rate. So you go first as I try to do the math in my head.
Cool. So before I rate this show, I do, and we teased it at the beginning that there was an album that only got one song. And
Vitalogy.
why is there only one Vitalogy song on here?
Yeah.
Why? Oh my God, this Vitalogy. You will,
And it was over and done. Number 3. It lasted for 2.5 minutes.
In 2010, are you going to a Pearl Jam show and getting only one Vitalogy song? Where's Corduroy? Where's Better Man? Where's Immortality? Shit, where's Spin the Black Circle? Where's Whipping? Where's Not For You?
This set needed to spin the Black Circle.
Oh
Absolutely.
my God! Like,
Where's Nothing Man?
Where's Nothing?
Sing
It would have been
alongs.
awesome. Nothing Man would have been awesome at this show. So that in mind, I will give this show a 7
Okay.
because
Since-
the encores did redeem it.
Yeah.
Fantastic encores. I thought about giving it a 5 or a 6, but then I was like, the first 4 songs are great. The encores are great. I'll give it a 7.
I've been back and forth on this. I listened to this bootleg and I said, you know what? This is actually a much better show than I remember it being, but I remember how boring it got late first set. And, maybe I see the songs differently than I would have back then. Maybe, we got Army Reserve at one of the Fenway's shows, and I was able to appreciate it a little more. But then it was just it was flat. Insignificance, a song that I would kill for now, flat. And it doesn't have anything to do with the songs. It has to do with placement and what's going on around it. I don't think we gave enough credit to I Got Shit because I was really into I Got Shit at the time, and I think I really liked that version.
And I've said it before. It's one of my top 5 Pearl Jam songs, but it just seemed like you said before, it needed something with it. It needed. It's not. It needed
a backbone.
It's not the moment. It's the one that builds up to the moment.
Yes, and the build was not. There was no crescendo. It was just it kind of stayed flat the whole time. But
like,
encores,
give me an I Got Shit into Immortality. Give me an I Got Shit into Given to Fly. Like, yes,
sure. I would have been okay with all those choices. But yeah, the encores are really the memorable stuff here. Luke in 1.5. And the other string quartet songs, Mankind, Leash, Indifference, Once, and Porch. I think now I'm trying to think of what I would give the other shows that I've been to that I think are higher than this. What grade I would give them, and I think since this is around, the 14 to 10 realm, I've been to some really, really good shows. I've been lucky enough, lucky face. I'm going to give this a 7. I think it's fair enough to say that this is a 7. I think the crowd is a 10 for what they were asked to do in the points where they did it. I think they were fantastic, but overall there were some hiccups. So I'm with you on that. I don't think it deserves lower than a 7.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
Yeah, that's all for this show. This is a rare time where we're not really promoting anything. Obviously Patreon is there, but
well, let's say congratulations to Chris Pullman from last week who won the poster. I'm going to get that out to him this week. So congratulations, and just check out the Patreon. We're going to have more stuff coming out soon.
And also congratulations to Andrea Mara, who won trivia last week and is getting a shirt.
Yeah,
so
right.
You never know what we're going to throw in there.
Another tough one tonight, right?
Yes, I believe it's MSG infused. So know your MSG history with Pearl Jam. Let me just put it that way.
There's your hint for this week.
Yes, it'll be a good one. I think it's one that people will be able to guess at and have a good time guessing at instead of having to go and dig for the stats and all that jazz. So I think you'll all enjoy it. But next week we're going to I'm going to do a special show next week with my soon-to-be wife. And we're going to talk about the first show that she ever went to, Fenway of 2016, night 2. That was a really fun one to record. We did it a couple, like last week or so. And, it's good to get a different take because she's not part of the Pearl Jam universe the same way we are. She gets everything from me. She got into the band because I did, and, it's good to get the outside perspective and how she saw what the band meant to me after going to this show. So, and also, how many times is somebody from outside the Pearl Jam world going to go to a show that lasts 3 hours long? It never happens. So there's a lot of really good stuff that we touch up on there. But that'll be next week's episode. Then I'm going to take a little bit of a break. And then, John, what are you doing? What's going on?
Well, I think I'm going to get with Buckley, and we're going to go back to the early 90s and give you guys something from early on.
All right. Just teasing, just say early on?
Yeah, early on. Maybe the earliest we've done so far.
Okay. All right. I'm excited to hear that. I can't wait to be a listener to this show instead of a host. I want to see what the other side feels like. You were on the other side for almost a year, so
yeah.
And
I'm looking forward, and I'm looking forward to hearing the Fenway episode with your fiance. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. But yeah, that's really it's slow. I'm getting married, so there's not a lot of stuff that I can do the next couple weeks. So, if we're light on social media and, we don't do a lot of episode hype, that's probably why. So, October...
We'll still have some stuff going on, and then we got a great October coming for you.
We got a really good October. Any hints? Do you want to give any hints to October? Or
I don't.
Okay, good.
All
right, no hints.
I'm not gonna call it Rocktober like some people might.
No,
but I will just say that there should be some great shows coming up.
Pleasantly surprised,
including the night 2 of this MSG run.
Yep. Hey, you got something to look forward to there.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic.
Absolutely. All right, I think we wrap things up on today. And again, next week we'll give you Fenway Night 2 with me and my fiancée Jillian, who I'll be marrying, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days from when that episode airs. It's we're getting down to it. We started off with about 700 days, and now we're down to very few. So definitely exciting.
Congratulations times. From all of us.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. And with that being said, this may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer. And although we may be parting ways, I miss you already, and I miss you always. For Randy and John, MSG 2010 Night 1, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you very, very much. You've been great. What else to say? They better bring it tomorrow because you did it tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you.